I'm going to share with you today a prayer that I've prayed many, many, many times, a prayer that we're starting to realize, and then a prayer that I hope that you guys will pray many, many times in the future. Before I do that, I want to kind of give you an update on a couple things. One, for those of you that don't know, the church and I together applied for a grant over a year ago, and that grant is the Lilly Foundation Pastoral Renewal Grant, and we got awarded that grant back in the fall. And what that grant essentially allows me to do is to take a break and for the Lilly Foundation to foot the bill for that grant. My grant was written to take a series of birthplace visits, and so the great thing about my birthplace is that it was in Hawaii. I mean, I didn't get to choose that. And so happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thanks. She gave birth to me while my dad was on a submarine, literally on a submarine, out. And so Tripler Hospital in Honolulu, and I don't remember any of that. And because we moved before any of my memories, like when I was, 3 months, 6 months, a year, somewhere around there, okay? And so I've never been back. And so my grant application was I wanted to take a trip back to my birthplace. And Mindy and I have enjoyed that thoroughly. And those of you that have followed us a little bit on Facebook, I just want you to know that I felt so guilty about the pictures that I didn't post about 100 of them. And so what you're getting is just a little bit, all right? And but honestly, like, it's such an extravagant gift that it's really, really amazing. This grant was $49,000, so a phenomenal amount of money. So it's a series of birthplace visits. So that was our first one. The second birthplace visit was I wanted to take all of our kids, family, back to Ethiopia. And this is where I need your prayers. That visit is starting this Wednesday. And we are leaving, all 9 of us, to go back to Ethiopia. This will be the very first visit back for Garrett, Tia, and Lemmy. To see their siblings, to see their birth moms who are still living. Their fathers have passed away, and but they each have 6 siblings. And so I just need your prayers. Prayers for their hearts. We don't even know how to prepare ourselves for it, honestly. And so we're just at the place of, it's going to be exciting. We're excited about it. They're excited about it. And at the same time, the range of emotions that I feel like, we're exposing them to and that they're excited about stepping into, but maybe not prepared for, is just something that I just need your prayers, that the Lord would protect and guide and all that stuff. So that's starting Wednesday. As a part of that trip, there's something that you guys did. First of all, before I move on, the third birthplace visit we get to go, and it's not happening until later in the year, but back to the birthplace of Christ. And Mindy and I are going to be able to go to the Holy Land for the first time and kind of see all these things that I talk about and teach about. And every time anybody that I know has gone there that's like a pastor or teacher is like, David, it's like the best seminary education multiplied because you get to see all this stuff that you've talked about for years. And so that's happening later in the year. So huge, huge thanks to the Lilly Foundation out of Indianapolis. There's 150 pastors that got grants across the nation. And so it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. And first of all, thanks to them. Thanks to you guys for giving us the opportunity to take this time. And I just appreciate you guys, all right? And it's an amazing thing. One of the things that's happening when we go to Ethiopia is when you all gave at the end of last year and the first of this year to the Light Up the Islands project, We purchased about 400 lights that we gave away in our February trip. We also had enough money to buy 400 more that we are taking with us to, we did Zadecha Island. There's 3 islands that the Zay people live on. We did Zadecha Island and one community on the shoreline. This trip, so not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, our whole family will be distributing lights to the 2 other islands. And so there's about 400, 450 light units that we're taking over there. And this is one of them. It's the solar panels here. The ones that we're giving away, about half of them have USB ports. And then the free ones that we got from the company that we ordered from are these, and they don't have the USB ports, but it's still a great source of light, renewable energy, all that good stuff. So pray for that next Tuesday. When we did this, I got to share the gospel with the entire community. It's the first time in February that I got to meet with the entire community. They're all out, they're ready to receive their lights, and we just started talking about the light of Christ and the difference that he makes and the need that they have for him in their lives. I got word 3 days ago, and this is just a gigantic prayer request, that there's an Orthodox religion that has dominated the islands, and it's hard to understand, but let me just tell you this, that Christians face more persecution from the Orthodox religion than they do from Muslims, okay, in this community. And so a lot of people received Christ when we were there in February, and we baptized several of them. And you saw pictures of that and all that good stuff. The priests on the island of the Orthodox religion have told the people that bring us out there to never bring us out there again. And so I just got that word 3 days ago as we're making our plans and scheduling. And so that's not going to stop us from going out there. It just means we got to find different transportation and go through some different routes. But it is like they know that, for years we've done clean water wells and we've done different projects helping the school and all that stuff. And now they know, like, hey, now it's making a difference. The gospel is penetrating into their community. The people that we baptized, my understanding is that they were forcibly rebaptized into the Orthodox religion after we left. And so, look, these guys face intense persecution. It's real. And they are very vulnerable. And there's a lot of fear and a lot of domination and control. And that's what religion produces. Christ comes and he produces freedom. And religion produces bondage. And these guys are in bondage, and they are dominated by a controlling religion. And it's the first time that you can feel the tension as we've, every time up to this point it's been like, hey, come on, because we're bringing our stuff. And now they're like, nope, we don't want your stuff or your faith. And so it's going to be a big deal. And for me, I'm like, bring it on. I mean, like, I get excited because this is where the gospel. I don't want to create tension. But if there's one thing that the gospel creates, it's tension. And I am okay with tension when it's a result of the gospel, not my own pride or my own, agenda. But I'm okay with conflict, with friction, with tension, as long as it's surrounded by and caused by the gospel, because that's what the gospel does. We love to talk about Jesus as the Prince of Peace, but Jesus also came and said, I bring with me a sword. We divide families, mothers from sons, fathers from daughters. That's what the gospel does, because it requires all of us, and it calls us to go all in with Christ. And that means we reject some of our former allegiances. in order to embrace. We repent of those allegiances in order to embrace Christ as our singular allegiance. And now that that's happening, now that that tension's there, I'm all in for the spiritual thing. My prayer is that the gospel will continue to advance. That's your number one prayer I'm asking. That the gospel would continue, that God would use these physical lights to understand, help people understand Christ as the light of the world, that they can receive him and never walk in darkness. And that the gospel would advance in the priests' hearts. There are some priests who have received Christ, not in our area, but in other areas. And our partners that we're working with New Covenant Foundation, they're going to be with us on Tuesday. And so these guys have a lot more experience than we do. And so I'm really excited about having them with us. And they are prayer warriors. And they know this situation very well. So I'm praying for the priests that they would come to the light of Christ. I'm praying that I think there would be an explosion of revival. That the entire people group officially would all say, yes, we believe. And that's my prayer. That's our hope. And guys, you guys are making this possible, because without a simple light, I wouldn't have the opportunity to stand before the whole community and share the gospel. And that's what this little gift and your giving has produced. And so this is what we're doing. My other prayer is that the conflict of this gospel wouldn't bleed over into the visit of our family. And that's the only kind of negative thing that I'm kind of worried about or concerned about, prayerful about. So if you pray with me on that, that would be amazing. I'll keep you updated on Facebook and some other places over the next couple weeks. So thanks. I know that's a lot. I know that's a big preparation. And now here's a message. How about that? There's a prayer that I wrote on my office wall years and years and years ago. It's a popular prayer, got turned into a little mini book called The Prayer of Jabez. And but I want to share it with you because I think at a moment like this in the life of our church, I want you to be really aware of what God's doing. And so let me just jump in, and here we go. There was a man named Jabez. This is 1 Chronicles chapter 4. There was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. We don't know a whole lot about this guy. This is it. This is in a series of kind of like the genealogies of Judah. All right? Judah is the son of Israel or Jacob. And he is ultimately the lineage of Christ. Christ is called the Lion of Judah. And that's Judah. That's the lineage. And so they're kind of detailing the lineage of Judah. And here in the middle of it, in the middle of the list of names, there was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than his brothers. And that's kind of all we know. But to me, it's not saying this guy's perfect, but he had some character that distinguished him from his other descendants or his other siblings. And so that's what we know of him. The other thing we know of him is his name's Jabez. And it says his mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. It's a great message for Mother's Day, yes? You can't beat this. You can't make this stuff up. I don't know how painful this had to be, okay? But if you're going to name your son because of your experience in child, and I'm not a woman. I think all childbirth is painful. Is that true? Okay, all right, just making sure. So it's, this rose way above that, I think, because you're not naming all your kids because of the pain. Otherwise, we would have some different popular names, right? What if you named your kid whatever you yelled out in the middle of your pain, the most intense pain during childbirth? That's kind of the word Jabez. It's a Hebrew word that is very closely, phonetically, when you say it, it sounds like the Hebrew word for pain. And so it's like you labeled your son, hey, you're a pain. Like you cause pain. Like that is his identity. That's what his mom named him. I don't know, it's just weird. But this is how I feel like this plays out, okay? I feel like this kid grew up, and he grew up with a constant reminder that he is a source of pain. He's a source of pain. Like, before he even had a choice, he was causing pain. Just who he was. That's his identity. You're a pain. Let's be careful what kind of nicknames we give our kids, our spouses. When you name people, it's a powerful thing. And I don't know how that happened, but I guess he wasn't really aware. Maybe it was the dad's fault. And you're like, wow, buddy, you really did it to your mom, and here you are, because I want you to remember it. But then here's what else we know. Like, he was the one who prayed to the God of Israel. Now, and then it's about to say what he prayed. But let me ask you this. Like, what will you be known by? I'm talking about, this is hundreds of years after this guy has died and gone. Let me ask you, who knows the first name of their great-grandparents? Okay, that's actually pretty good. It's better than I thought. Okay, who knows the first name of their great-grandparents? Great-grandparents, really? You know like all 8 of their first names? Is that 16? All right, you understand what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm like, I know my grandparents' first names. And then I'd have to look up on my little, family tree to find any other names. I don't know them. But let me just say, even if you make a big splash, all right, your great-great-grandkids, they're not even going to know your name. Probably your great-grandkids are not even going to know your name. And if they do know your name, are they going to know anything else about you? That's kind of a sobering thought, isn't it? But what if we lived our life in such a way that generations after we left, somebody said, hey, this was the one who prayed. Like this is the power of this phrase. We just read through it, but like the power of what's there is this was the man, this was the one who prayed to the God of Israel. And what difference would it be made, like if the 5th generation from now, that they knew you because they had heard stories that were passed on generation after generation after generation of what you did because you prayed to God. Like, what difference would that make? I think it's a huge difference. I think that's the kind of people we want to be. But it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of faithfulness to say, hey, this is not just about today, this is about the next generation, and this is about 100 generations after. Let's be those kind of people. Let's live that kind of life. Let's have that kind of perspective. And let's not just be dominated by the present. This is the one who prayed to the God of Israel. Now, this is what he prayed. Oh, God, that you would bless me and expand my territory. So let's just stop right there for a second. First of all, he prays God that God would bless him. Now, like I think the word bless has gotten a bad rap because, we know what we mean when we said, oh, bless his heart. Okay, we know that, all right? This is not that. Like the word blessing is literally saying, God, would you bless me? Would you do for me what only you can do for me? It's a declaration. God, nobody else can do this. It's a declaration of dependence. God, if you don't do this, it cannot get done. It's not like, hey, God, there's about 100 options here. You're one of them. Could you make it happen so I don't have to go to another 99? No. God, would you bless me? Oh, that you would bless me. Oh, God, that you would do for me what only you can do for me. That's what's wrapped up in that one word, bless. And then he says, like, and expand my territory. It's basically saying, God, give me more. Give me more influence. Give me more literally physical property in that day, which was a big deal. Expand my borders. Let my world get bigger. Give me more responsibility. Give me more opportunity. Do it in such a way that only you can do. That's not through my ingenuity or through my creativity or through my nature. In fact, what is his nature? He's a pain in the butt. That's who he is. That's all he's been known for. His whole life. It's his identity. And it's like, he has this godly ambition, okay? It's an ambitious thing. And it says, you know what? Expand my influence. Give me more opportunity. Like, we need people who are begging for that. We need to pray, God, make me more responsible. Give me more opportunity to exert influence. And maybe that's just to your own family. Give me more opportunity to exert influence into my kids and their friends, into my kids' kids and their friends. I mean, like, it's weird to be, I don't know, it's weird to be 46 years old and already starting to think, like, okay, like Mindy and I on this last couple of weeks, a lot of our conversation was like, okay, what kind of grandparents do we want to be? We don't even have kids that are married yet, okay? But it is kind of that, like, my parents have been so radically intentional with their grandkids. I mean, they have set the bar way up here. My parents pull off cousins camp once a year. They've done it for 22 years in a row or something like that. Or this will be the 21st year. I mean, my kids know their grandparents even though they don't live close. You know, my parents say, hey, if you'll memorize these 8 chapters of the Bible, then we'll give you money to buy a car. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that for my grandkids, but they did. You know, like, my parents are radically intentional with their 18 grandkids. Is it 18? I don't remember. Somewhere in there. 17, 18, 19, in that range, okay? You know, and the bar's high. And we're like, hey, we got 7 kids. I don't know. I mean, my parents had 4 kids, and they got that many grandkids. I don't know how many grandkids we're going to have, all right? I'm thinking we're going to have more than 17, maybe. But I'm thinking, like, what kind of grandparents are we going to be? And that's kind of the prayer, like, God, expand my influence, expand my opportunity. Moms, you all are so good at this. I just want to say, don't lose focus. Don't lose focus on your kids. Don't lose focus on your kids' friends. Some of you, like, you are so good at this. You're so intentional with this. You're like, I want my house to be the sleepover house. I want my house to be the place that they crash after school because I want to be that kind of influence with not just my kids but their friends. And my kids benefit from being at a lot of your all's houses. To be like, I'm so grateful that they can go to your house. They get another picture of a faithful mom and dad who love well. And you know what? Beyond that, there's not just good families that have other good families to go to. There's some families that are just kind of broken. And those kids don't have, like, a vision of what motherhood's like. And you're their best shot. And you know what? We need to be saying, God, expand my opportunity to be that person's picture of what a great mom's like. So that she can one day be a great mom, even though she never saw that. Like, let's do that. And you know what? It's work. It feels like, whoo, man, I got enough. I got 2 kids or I got 3 kids. I'm like, whoo, I know it's a lot. But it's that prayer that says, bring it on, God. Like, expand my territory. Give me more opportunity to love well. Give me more opportunity to be this person that you call me to be. That's the kind of prayer that this guy prays. I get pretty excited about this prayer. Because it just goes on and on. I can't tell you how many times I prayed this prayer about property. Because I know property is just a physical thing, and in the spiritual realm, there's, it's just a tool. But I also know that we're about to step into an expanded territory. Not just physical, not just 9.2 acres. We're about to be an economic force in Harrisburg. Like, in a great way. We're gonna provide some tax revenue for the city that they really are going to enjoy. Like, this thing's going to employ, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many it takes to run a daycare of 200 kids and a hotel of 90 rooms and an event center and a coffee shop. I'm thinking that's 100 employees. Like, you get that? Like, we're about to make a positive impact in a town way beyond just the church world, just the spiritual realm. But because we're doing that, God's going to put us in realms and in relationships and conversations that we're going to have so much more opportunity. And then how many families are going to be looking for great daycare options for their kids? And when we put all of our energy into making this the best, like, we're going to have this opportunity with 200 families to say, hey, let's expand our territory. We're going to have different events come in, all the time. Like, we just kind of got an initial request for somebody that wants to do marriage conferences in this event center that we haven't even built yet. And they want to rent all of our rooms for 20 weekends a year for the next 10 years. I don't know. Look. I wasn't even in that conversation. I just heard about that conversation. Okay, but those are the conversations. I'm like, well, look, our territory is about to expand. It really is. Like, that's what the Lord is doing. So let's get ready for it. Let's not shrink back. I get real intimidated by this stuff. Let me keep going because I'm going to be out of time. And then y'all going to make fun of me because every time you come back, David, you talk for like forever. And the guy last week just talked for 20 minutes, right? Stupid. I told him to go an hour and a half so that y'all be glad that I'm back. All right, well, that's this way it goes. Expand my territory. Would you pray that prayer? Would you be ambitious? Say, God, expand my territory. He's doing it. Get ready. So then what the next part of the prayer, this is such a wise prayer. Please be with me in all that I do. Let me say, when God expands our territory, there's this little opportunity here that the enemy comes in. And it's like, God's expanded our territory. Look at us. God's just given me this. Now, I'm not sure if I need him anymore. We just got $1 million worth of equity. Boom. Look at us. Go do our own thing now. Thanks, God. Bye-bye. I mean, it's a real temptation, guys. Anytime God blesses you, he has gifted you. He has given you something. It is yours to do what you wish with. Let's be really careful what we do with it. Jabez is like, expand my territory. Oh, but God, like, be with me and let your hand be with me is what the verse says. Hand guide me in all that I do. We need God more than ever, not less than ever. Our territory expands, and we need God more and more. And we are more desperate. And that's rooted in a humility that says, whew, not sure I can handle this. Not a pride that says, yeah, got this, don't need you. Whew. I'm intimidated, humbly intimidated. but what God's preparing us for, how he's expanding our borders. And my prayer and my feeling are moving us to like, oh God, bless us, but don't leave us alone. We need you now more than ever. Listen to these verses. They're not on the screens, but listen. These are the Proverbs 16:9. In the mind of man plans his way. We make our plans, but the Lord directs his steps. Some of you have seen that little thing on Facebook, whatever, our plans, and it's a straight line between this dot and this dot. God's plans, and it's like, because that's what that is. Like we make our plans, and it's like, hey, direct line from here to there, A to B. God, okay, well, that's good. Let me take you on a journey, see how much you trust me. Let me teach you things about faith and hope. Let me teach you about where your hope lies, even when you're disappointed, even when plans don't work out. Let me test what your faith is rooted in. Where do you really trust? Who do you really trust? What are you really hoping for? And then let me bring you to a place where even giving you the delights of your heart, but only after I know that you trust me. That's how God is. John 15:5, Jesus says, I'm the vine, you're the branches. He who abides in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. As our territory expands, as our opportunities expand, the temptation to say, I don't need you, God, expands. And we have to be reminded of the things over and over again. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And then he prays this, please be with me in all that I do, and keep me from all trouble and pain. Keep me from all trouble and pain. I don't think that's an actually good translation, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But let's cover that first part for a second. And keep me from all trouble. Hey, here's the thing. When you expand your territory, when you have a godly ambition to make a difference, that's going to cause tension. It's causing you trouble. Look, it's easier just to say, hey, let me live my life, let me take care of my marriage and family, and let the world do whatever they want to do. It is easier to not create tension with the gospel with the Zay people. It's easier to just say, hey, came with water, came with lights, what else you need? I want you to like me, and leave. And come back next time. When our territory expands under God's leadership, it challenges the way people are currently living their life. It creates troubling situations. And here's a guy, remember what his name is? Hey, yeah, you're a pain. You know what? His prayer is like, God, like keep me from that. As my territory expands, like, what comes with that is trouble. We're asking for more trouble in the future with this land. Let's just be real frank. It's a lot easier just to rent the school. Because then we don't have to repair air conditioning units. I mean, we got to deal with the drama department, but they're not that bad, okay? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that bad. It's easier this way. But when your territory expands, your opportunity for trouble expands. And I quote this verse all the time, and your moms, you dads, quote this to your wives, but do it in an appropriate way at appropriate times, okay? Because Mindy's like, oh my gosh, like this house, oh my gosh, like how these clothes. I'm like, baby, we got 7 kids. Like, they're not running around naked, I mean, like, it's going to have clothes. And you don't have to do them all. It's like, I know. Proverbs 14:4. I love this verse. Without oxen, a stable stays clean. If you don't have any ox, there's no ox poop. And you don't have to clean the stables. But you need a strong ox for a large harvest. It's like, hey, if you don't want to do anything, your house, if you don't have any kids, then it's just your husband you have to clean up. Or you just have to kick his butt and say, hey, take care of your stuff. But if you're going to have kids, there's something that comes along with that. And we got to be up for it. And that's kind of, as the territory expands, the opportunity expands, and the mess expands. I mean, hey, if you don't want any ox, you can have a clean stable and no work getting done. But if you want work done, a large harvest, there's stuff that comes along with that. And then this is where I think the translation's off, because I think there's a word missing here. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from trouble and pain. And I don't do this very often with the scriptures. But on this point, I really, truly believe in all that my study on this one verse is I think the word causing should be inserted in front of pain. Because what I think this is not a selfish prayer. He's saying, keep me from all trouble as this territory expands. Keep me from all trouble, but also change my nature. Change my name. I don't want to be known anymore as the guy who's always causing pain. I caused my mom pain, and that's what she named me. I don't want to be known for that. So as my territory expands, let your hand be with me in all that I do. Keep me from the trouble, but also keep me from causing pain. And I think that's the heartbeat of Jabez. I think it's the heartbeat of our church at this point. Because our territory is expanding. There's going to be more opportunity. There's also going to be more opportunity for trouble. And I don't want to cause any pain. I don't want to cause any of you pain as we grow. I don't want to cause the community pain as we kind of make a splash. I don't want to cause pain. That's Jabez's heart. I'm intimidated by this, but I'm also reminded, and I'm way past time, so here's the deal. Matthew 25, you can read it later, but here, it's the parable of the talents. And so often, Jesus gave one 5 talents, one 2 talents, and one 1 talent. The guy with 5 doubled it. The guy with 2 doubled it. The guy with 1 buried it in the ground. And all we focus on usually in that parable is who? The person that buried it in the ground. And that's a good opportunity to focus there, because I think that's the focus on the story is let's be faithful. But let's focus for a second on the guy who had 2 or the guy who had 5. Because they were faithful. And when you're faithful, like God doubled their responsibility. I believe God is saying to you and to us, you've been faithful. So now instead of being in charge of 5 talents, you're in charge of 10 talents. And I think that the guy with 5 talents, he doubled them and gave him 10 talents. But then it's also recorded that the person who had 1 talent that buried it, that Jesus said, give that 1 talent, because that guy didn't use it, to this guy who has 10. So the guy went from being responsible for 5 talents, which is over a year's wage, each talent, and now he's in charge of 11 talents. And it's intimidating when your territory expands. Golly, I thought I was going to, 5 talents was a lot. Now I've got 11 talents. And still that faithfulness. But I was reminded by somebody when I was talking through this a couple weeks ago, like God's just multiplying our talents here. And he's also saying, you're responsible for it. Get ready. But he distributed the talents based on their ability. And somebody said to me, hey, I know you're intimidated by the expansion, but he's only expanding that because he thinks you guys are ready for it and you're able. And so be ready. I think we're entering into about an 18 to 24 month preparation season that says, what does it look like for all of us, every single one of us, to get ready to step into this in a way that we are able to serve and love in a greater way than we've ever done before. And I'm looking forward to it. You pray with me. God, thanks for today, and thanks for our moms, and thanks for their role in all of our lives. Thank you for prayers like the prayer of Jabez and how we can learn so much from it. Thank you for expanding our territory. Help us, Lord, as a church. Keep us from trouble. Let your hand be with us in all that we do. And help us as our territory expands not to be the source or causing any friction or pain for others. We want to be a source of joy, a source of love, a source of hope. So guide us and protect us. Get us ready. We love you and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.